From rising TikTok star...
Okay, what can I get you? Hey, handsome. What you calling? Sorry, man. I'll have a venti dolce caramel macchiato with no ice.
What happens when the world of viral fame collides with unthinkable crimes? In Craziest TikTok Killers Reacting to Insane Sentences, we uncover the shocking courtroom moments of influencers who turn their 15 minutes of fame into infamy. From chilling breakdowns to defiant stares, their reactions to justice will leave you stunned. You won't believe what happened in the case of Terry and Thomas. Let's dive in.
Okay, what can I get you? Hey, handsome. What the fuck you calling? Sorry, man.
Ali Abulaban, known online as Jin Kid, was a social media personality who gained a following for his comedic impressions, particularly of characters like Tony Montana from Scarface. While his content brought him internet fame, his personal life unraveled in a series of devastating events.
His 5-year-old daughter's iPad, and when he heard his wife and another man talking, he went to her home and shot them both to death. Then, still armed, he picked up his daughter from school.
On October 21, 2021, Ali entered the apartment he had previously shared with his estranged wife, Anna Abulaban, armed with a handgun. The couple had been experiencing significant marital difficulties, with Anna recently requesting that Ali move out due to ongoing issues in their relationship. In the weeks leading up to the killings, Ali had allegedly installed a spyware device on an iPad left in the apartment, allowing him to eavesdrop on Anna's conversations.
According to prosecutors, Anna asked her husband to move out in October of 2021, and he checked into a hotel. A few days later, Ali snuck back into the apartment with the key he allegedly copied to get in and trashed the space while his wife was gone.
According to prosecutors, Ali drove to the downtown San Diego high-rise where Anna lived. Surveillance footage later confirmed his entry into the building. Ali entered the apartment using his copy of the keys. Upon finding Anna and Rayburn together, Ali immediately confronted them in a heated altercation.
He went back to the apartment with a gun. He reportedly shot Rayburn Barron 3 times at close range, in the neck, cheek, and the back of the head.
The details of what transpired next were pieced together by detectives. Ali allegedly shot Rayburn first, firing multiple rounds into his body at close range. He then turned his weapon on Anna, who had attempted to flee or shield herself during the attack. She too was shot multiple times, succumbing to her injuries almost instantly.
Prosecutors say just a month before her murder, Anna filed a domestic violence police report against Ali after he allegedly pushed and injured her in front of their daughter.
After committing the murders, Ali fled the scene, leaving behind the lifeless bodies of Anna and Rayburn in the bloodied apartment. He drove to his daughter's school, picked her up, and placed her in the car. As he drove, Ali made calls to family members, admitting to what he had done. It was his relatives who contacted law enforcement, prompting a rapid response. Police located Ali later that evening and arrested him without incident. At the time of his apprehension, Ali was in possession of the firearm believed to have been used in the killings. Forensic analysis and witness testimony strengthened the case against him, revealing premeditation and planning rather than a moment of spontaneous rage. Ali was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and held without bail. His trial, which began in spring 2024, centered on whether the murders were premeditated, first degree, or a crime of passion, second degree. During the trial, prosecutors described the sequence of events as methodical and deliberate. The prosecution argued that Ali's decision to install the listening device demonstrated a pattern of control and jealousy. They painted a picture of a man consumed by anger and a desire for vengeance, claiming he had ample opportunity to rethink his actions, but instead carried out the murders in cold blood.
Because he caught me in a really vulnerable moment, I was literally so upset in the elevator. He knew I was upset.
The defense countered by portraying the crime as a heat-of-the-moment act, arguing that Ali's emotional state had been exacerbated by untreated mental health and substance issues. They claimed that discovering Anna and Rayburn together pushed Ali into a state of blind rage, leading to a crime of passion rather than premeditation. Jurors, however, sided with the prosecution, concluding that the evidence showed Ali planned and executed the murders with intent. On May 29, 2024, they returned a guilty verdict on 2 counts of first-degree murder, with special circumstances for multiple killings.
In the Superior Court of the State of California, in and for the County of San Diego.
After the verdict, Rayburn Barron's sister, Jordana, expressed that while nothing could bring her brother and Anna back, the decision ensured Ali could no longer harm anyone else. In September 2024, San Diego's Superior Court Judge Jeffrey Frazier sentenced Ali to 2 consecutive terms of 25 years to life, plus an additional 50 years for a firearms enhancement. Judge Fraser criticized Ali's lack of genuine remorse, describing him as a selfish person destined to die in prison. The judge also drew parallels between Ali's online persona and his real-life actions, suggesting that Ali's cold-blooded demeanor mirrored the character he often portrayed in his videos.
With all the abuse, if I had known!
As the sister of murder victim Anna Abulaban started her victim impact statement in court.
During the sentencing hearing, several of Anna's and Rayburn's loved ones addressed the court, voicing their pain and anger. Anna's sister denounced Ali for breaking his promise to care for Anna, instead subjecting her to a life of misery. Rayburn's sister also expressed her hatred towards Ali.
None of this is your fault. Your mom loved you so much, and I love you so much.
In the end, the judge sentenced Abulaban to the maximum.
Ali also spoke, pleading for leniency and citing untreated mental health and substance issues at the time of the killings. He apologized to his daughter for his actions and expressed hope that he could one day reunite with her, though Judge Fraser dismissed these pleas, asserting that justice required Ali to face the consequences of his actions. Despite Ali's apologies and claims of regret, the court upheld the life sentence, ensuring he will spend the rest of his days behind bars. Ali Abulaban's crimes were horrifying, and the motive behind them seemed clear. But the case of Terrion Thomas leaves many unanswered questions. What could have driven another TikTok creator to allegedly murder a 69-year-old therapist?
And has more than 4 million followers on TikTok. And I will admit, I used to watch some of his videos. Now, according to people who follow him online, Thomas has been behaving more and more erratically.
Terrion Thomas, a TikTok creator known by the handle Mr. Prada456, rose to online fame in late 2022, amassing over 4 million followers. His notoriety stemmed largely from his practice of replicating content, often shot for shot from other creators. Despite being called out for his behavior, Terrion dismissed the criticism, describing himself as unbothered in response videos. However, by 2024, Terrion's name would be linked to far more serious allegations.
The next day, Dr. Nick's body is found. Cause of death? Blunt force trauma. Police got a search warrant for Mr. Prada's apartment and found blood, weapons, and...
On September 29, 2024, the body of Baton Rouge therapist William Nicholas Abraham was discovered wrapped in a blue tarp on the side of a Louisiana highway. The 69-year-old had died from blunt force trauma, according to the medical examiner. As investigators worked the case, evidence soon pointed to 20-year-old Terrion as the prime suspect.
Now it's Thomas's actual mugshot that's making rounds on social media. He was detained on Tuesday in Dallas, Texas after he fled from a traffic stop where he was spotted driving a dead man's car.
A search warrant was executed for Terrion's apartment, where crime scene investigators uncovered signs of a violent struggle. Blood found at the scene was later confirmed to match William Abraham's DNA. Investigators also recovered sharp objects and other weapons. Security footage from the apartment complex revealed that William had arrived at Terrion's apartment around 11 p.m. on September 28th, wearing the same clothing he was later found in.
Thomas has been behaving more and more erratically. For example, he posted a video of himself shaving his head, leaving little patches of hair all over.
Statements from residents of the apartment complex describe seeing Terrion dragging a large, tarp-wrapped object down the stairs in the early hours of September 29th. Witnesses reported that Terrion appeared to struggle as he loaded the object into a car, which was later identified as belonging to William Abraham. A manhunt for Terrion ensued, and he was located and arrested in Dallas, Texas in early October.
Mr. Prada, no stranger to the camera, is later seen dragging something wrapped in a blue tarp and putting it into the doctor's car.
Upon his arrest, Terrion refused to speak to authorities. Initially, he was charged with unauthorized use of a vehicle, aggravated criminal damage to property, resisting arrest, second-degree murder, and obstruction of justice. After his extradition to Louisiana, prosecutors announced during a court hearing that the murder charge would be upgraded to first-degree murder. East Baton Rouge Parish Commissioner Jermaine Guillory ordered that Terrion be held without bond, though a bail hearing was scheduled for January 2025. Terrion was assigned a public defender.
Wrapped in a tarp on the side of the road in Louisiana. Deputies say his body was hidden partially in the woods about 60 miles away from where he worked.
As news of Terrion's arrest spread, social media erupted with speculation about his possible motive. Some viral posts on TikTok and X claimed a connection between Terrion and a 2015 case involving William Abraham, who had been accused of inappropriate conduct. However, no charges were brought against William in that case, and his defense attorney, Jarrett Ambeau, stated there was no evidence linking Terrion to the earlier allegations. The East Baton Rouge Sheriff's Office also confirmed that they had found no indication that Terrian was a client of Williams or connected to the 2015 investigation. Detectives are still working to determine the motive and clarify the relationship between Terrian and William, which remains unclear. This next case takes a different turn. While April Holt's alleged killer may not have used social media, it was her mother who turned to TikTok to raise awareness about her daughter's suspicious death and push for justice.
For months after her daughter died, Jamie Dickerson was angry. Despite what officials first concluded, Jamie says,
on July 29, 2023, 29-year-old April Holt was found unresponsive in her home under troubling circumstances. Her mother, Jamie Dickerson, was shocked to learn that April had been hospitalized following what was reported as an attempt to take her own life. According to April's husband, 33-year-old Donovan Holt, he discovered her unconscious in the shower with a bag tied around her head. Despite medical efforts, April passed away from her injuries on July 31st.
She knew there was more to the story.
I'm frustrated. I've always thought that the justice system was meant to fight for the innocent.
Following April's death, Jamie began to question the official narrative. She knew that just 2 weeks prior, April had asked Donovan for a divorce. It wasn't the first time April had tried to leave the marriage, though she had always ended up staying. Jamie also knew how much her daughter cherished her role as a mother to her 2 children, and how excited she had been about her future. During a visit to the hospital, Jamie noticed details on April's body that suggested foul play, convincing her that April had been the victim of a homicide.
And I've almost felt like they fought for the suspect.
Jamie's daughter, April Holt, died last July at her apartment on Cane Ridge Parkway in Antioch.
Despite Jamie's concerns, the medical examiner ruled April's death as complications from suffocation and concluded it was an attempt on her life. Jamie refused to accept this conclusion, driven by a gut feeling that something was being overlooked. Determined to uncover the truth, she began contacting the district attorney and police department relentlessly. She also joined the Community Review Board, a police advisory group, to press for answers.
Police found her with a bag tightly tied around her head, and in November, medical examiners classified her death as a suicide.
4 months later, the Community Review Board disclosed that Donovan's fingerprints had been found on the plastic bag and the tape around April's neck. Despite this, investigators argued there wasn't enough evidence to charge him, leaving Jamie devastated but undeterred. Refusing to accept what she saw as a failure of justice, Jamie turned to social media, especially TikTok, to share April's story and voice her suspicion that her daughter had been murdered. Her raw and emotional posts gained traction, with many people sympathizing with her plight and wanting answers.
I talked to her an hour and a half before. She texted me an hour and a half before she was found dead. Perfectly fine. I texted her the night before.
When a court order barred Jamie from publicly discussing the case, it only strengthened her resolve. Unable to speak openly, she began posting videos with tape covering her mouth, a visual representation of how she felt silenced by the legal system. These silent yet powerful videos went viral, sparking widespread outrage. The haunting imagery resonated with viewers, who flooded her comment sections with messages of support and demands for accountability.
Perfectly fine. She was meeting me at church the next day. Nothing led to signs of suicide.
Jamie believed April's husband, Donovan Holt.
As Jamie's videos circulated across platforms, they fueled a growing movement of people determined to bring attention to April's case. Social media users began sharing the posts, creating hashtags, and tagging local news outlets and public officials. Influencers and true crime content creators picked up the story, amplifying it to a larger audience. The public outcry pressured authorities to re-examine the evidence and reignited momentum for justice.
If your spirit is telling you this isn't right, go with it. Keep digging. Don't just listen to the word closed case and say, oh, they can't reopen it.
Jamie's persistence paid off when she sent Donovan a copy of the forensic report, hoping he would finally reveal the truth. To her shock, Donovan called her and admitted to strangling April, staging the scene to make it appear as though she had taken her own life. He confessed to placing a bag over her head and moving her body into the shower. In July 2024, the Metro Nashville Police Department Cold Case Unit officially recorded Donovan's confession.
Jamie did keep digging, and just this summer, Donovan Holt, now living in San Antonio, finally confessed to killing April.
A grand jury subsequently indicted him on charges of reckless homicide, evidence tampering, and false reporting. Donovan, who was arrested in Texas, was extradited to Nashville, Tennessee, where April had died. He was held at the Davidson County Jail on a $75,000 bond.
And why there's not first-degree murder.
April's spirit still lives close to her mother's heart.
On the back of it, it has ALH for April Lynn Holt.
In the aftermath, Jamie channeled her grief into action. She launched efforts to create the Grieve With Me Center in memory of April, aiming to support others who lost loved ones. In a GoFundMe campaign to raise funds for the center, Jamie described her vision as a space for comfort and healing, offering grief resource classes, youth support groups, art therapy, and grief camps. Her mission is to ensure that families like hers have the resources and support they need to navigate unimaginable loss. April Holt's tragic death exposed a deeply unsettling betrayal within her own family. But the next case takes us to an even darker chapter of familial violence. Trey Sesler, a young man whose shocking actions against his loved ones left an entire community in disbelief.
So, after watching Welcome to the NHK and learning about the NEET, which are people that are not in employment education.
Trey Eric Sesler launched his YouTube channel, Mr. Anime, in September 2006, where he gained a following by posting reviews of various anime television series. On another channel, Lenscap Productions, he created skits. In these videos, Trey would often display his growing collection of weapons, hinting at a fascination with violence and danger. He became known for his online persona, but it was in April 2012 that things took a darker turn. Trey informed his followers that he would be taking a 2 to 3 week break from posting, telling them that Mr. Anime was planning something. At the time, many fans assumed he was simply stepping away for a short hiatus, unaware of the chilling plans Trey was about to carry out.
Oh, how you doing, everyone? It's Mr. Anime. Or you can call me Trey. You can call me the guy that does the video game reviews, or you can call me the guy that does all the gun stuff now.
On March 19, 2012, Trey began his violent spree in his family's home in Waller, Texas. Early in the afternoon, Trey lured his mother, 45-year-old Rhonda, into the garage. In a brutal act, he shot her 4 times in the head at point-blank range. Trey then moved inside the house where his brother, 20-year-old Mark, was. Without hesitation, he shot Mark as well. Trey's father, 52-year-old Lawton, had been asleep when the gunshots rang out.
All the gun stuff now. Yeah, according to police in Texas, this guy studied murder before becoming a mass killer.
When Lawton woke up, disoriented and alarmed, he was shot by his son at close range. After killing his entire immediate family, Trey wrote disturbing messages around the house, including one that read, "I love my mom, dad, and brother. God forgive me because I cannot forgive myself."
Everybody was scared about if it was going to happen or not. Everybody's paranoid.
Family members were at the home today collecting sentimental items. Investigators say besides the gore...
Despite the violence, Trey wasn't finished. He loaded his black Ford Mustang with a rifle and hundreds of rounds of ammunition, then drove to Waller High School, his alma mater. There he parked his car and sat in the lot for a while, contemplating his next move. However, rather than carrying out the mass shooting he had planned, Trey eventually drove to a friend's house. By the time he arrived, the bodies of his parents had been discovered, and Trey was apprehended by law enforcement at around 9:30 p.m. the same day.
Houston and Texas. Here's the home. Police say Sesler also admitted killing animals, shooting at closed businesses and schools in the middle of night, also setting fires, and he had plans to...
Crime scene investigators who examined the Sesler family home described it as a war zone. The scene was filled with blood, with large pools of it staining the floors and splattered on the walls. Furniture was overturned and broken items were scattered throughout the rooms, as if the house had been torn apart in the violent struggle. Bloodstains marked the path Trey had taken after each shooting, leading investigators to reconstruct the chilling sequence of events.
Shooting large animals, has talked about setting a few small grass fires. He has taken rifles and shot at buildings.
Trey was arrested and charged with the murders of his mother, father, and brother. During his police interview, Trey admitted to the killings, explaining that he had murdered his family to prevent them from feeling ashamed when he carried out a mass shooting at his former high school. However, Trey claimed that the reality of the situation hit him too hard, and he ultimately decided to back out of the attack. He acknowledged that the violent acts he committed were not an isolated incident, as he had previously engaged in violent behavior and confessed to killing animals and firing his weapons near schools late at night, though he had no prior criminal history before the murders.
Officials say he researched serial killers online and even graded their work. He told investigators.
Further investigation into Trey revealed that he had been heavily influenced by past mass murder incidents, particularly the Columbine High School shooting in 1999 and the 2007 Virginia Tech massacre. Trey had spent a significant amount of time researching both events and seemed to idolize the perpetrators. Authorities found that he had a document on his computer where he had graded and studied the actions of 8 different serial killers. This chilling insight into his mindset showed how deeply Trey had immersed himself in the world of mass violence and murder.
A neighbor says Trey Sesler stayed here from time to time.
He'd just pull up in his garage and stay however long, a couple of days, and leave.
In the days following the murders, Trey contacted other relatives, offering apologies for his actions. He expressed remorse, but many found it difficult to believe the sincerity of his words, especially after the horrific nature of the killings. The small town of Waller, Texas was left in shock as the community struggled to comprehend how such a brutal and senseless crime could unfold in their otherwise peaceful neighborhood.
Top 8 serial killers graded about what action they took, but he also studied all kinds of mass shootings, just like the Columbine shooting and other school events.
On August 2, 2012, Trey pled guilty to all charges against him, including 3 counts of first-degree murder. The judge sentenced him to life in prison without the possibility of parole, a sentence that would keep him behind bars for the rest of his life. Trey remained silent during the hearing, offering no further explanation for his actions. The decision to give him life instead of the death penalty left many residents of Waller feeling disappointed. They had hoped for a harsher punishment, believing that Trey's crimes warranted the ultimate penalty. Trey Sesler's horrifying actions against his own family exposed a deeply troubled mind. But the next case brings us to another shocking act of violence within a household. Claire Miller, a young girl whose actions against a family member left an entire community reeling.
She stabbed her sister Helen, who had cerebral palsy, on the morning of February 22, 2021. Her parents testified at trial that they had lost Helen and didn't want to lose Claire as well to prison.
In the early morning hours of February 22, 2021, the Manheim Township Police Department was called to the Miller family home after 14-year-old Claire Miller, who had an active TikTok presence, made a 911 call, admitting that she had killed her sister. When the officers arrived at the scene, they found Claire outside, standing in the snow with blood on her pajama pants. Claire led the officers inside, directing them to the bedroom where Helen Miller, 19 years old, lay lifeless. Helen, who had been born with cerebral palsy, relied on a wheelchair for mobility and was unable to walk. The Miller family had adapted their home to meet Helen's needs, ensuring that she had a safe and comfortable space to live.
A teen accused of killing her sister will be staying in Lancaster County until her trial. 16-year-old Claire Miller will be tried as an adult. The judge determined Miller will stay in Lancaster County Youth.
Claire was taken into custody immediately. Under Pennsylvania law, homicide is not considered a juvenile crime, meaning that Claire, despite her age, had to be charged as an adult. This legal requirement was not a decision made lightly, as it involved treating a young teenager with the same legal process reserved for adults charged with serious offenses.
Claire Miller was a kid who had it all, but was obsessed with homicide. Citing thousands of text messages she sent a friend expressing a desire to harm someone, saying even though she loved her sister Helen, she stabbed her to death.
The legal process that followed focused heavily on Claire's mental health. She was found to have been experiencing a mental health crisis at the time of the incident. In Pennsylvania, third-degree murder is defined as an unintentional killing that results from reckless or depraved actions. It is distinct from first-degree murder, which requires premeditation, and second-degree murder, which involves killing occurring during the commission of another serious crime.
Claire Miller was sentenced to 12.5 to 40 years in prison, pleading guilty to third-degree murder. Lancaster County judge overlooking the case determined.
In 2023, Claire, now 16, pleaded guilty to third-degree murder. This plea was significant because it indicated that Claire accepted responsibility for her actions, but did not admit to premeditation or intent to kill. By pleading guilty, she acknowledged that her behavior showed a disregard for human life, which resulted in her sister's death.
Miller was mentally ill but not mentally disabled when imposing the sentence. Back on February 22nd of 2021, Manheim Township Police discovered Miller's 19-year-old sister.
During the sentencing hearing, District Attorney Heather Adams described the case as particularly tragic, emphasizing that Helen's vulnerability and Claire's actions made the situation even more painful. Heather Adams noted that while the mental health crisis Claire experienced was a factor, it did not erase her responsibility for Helen's death. The prosecutor pointed out that the court needed to balance the need for accountability with Claire's young age and mental state at the time of the crime.
Via video conference, she's charged with killing her disabled sister Helen in their Manheim Township home in February.
The judge ultimately sentenced Claire to 12.5 to 40 years in prison. This decision aimed to hold her accountable for what had happened, but also left room for the possibility of rehabilitation over time. Claire's guilty plea and the subsequent sentencing highlighted the complex challenge of balancing justice with compassion, particularly in cases involving minors and mental health issues.
In Manheim Township called police a little after 1 a.m. and said she had killed her sister. Officers responded to the home where Claire pointed them to a bedroom.
For the Miller family, this case was devastating on multiple fronts. They had already endured the unimaginable pain of losing Helen, who had been cherished and an integral part of their lives. The grief of that loss was compounded by the reality that Claire would now face years of imprisonment. Further, the family was left to try to come to terms with the painful contradiction of loving Claire and mourning Helen, knowing that the actions of one had changed their entire family forever. Claire Miller's tragic actions within her own family were shocking, but the next case reveals a tale of manipulation and greed with devastating consequences. Kelsey Turner, a former model whose entanglement in a deadly scheme, showed how far some will go to protect their secrets.
Judy was worried about this woman, 25-year-old Playboy and Maxim model Kelsey Turner. Judy says Kelsey was extorting money from Dr. Burchard.
Kelsey Turner was once a prominent figure in the adult modeling industry, appearing on the covers of Playboy Italia and Maxim, and amassing a considerable following on social media. She spent her time between Salinas, California and Las Vegas, Nevada, working to build her career. However, as the modeling industry proved to be highly unpredictable, opportunities began to dry up, and Turner faced significant financial struggles. By this point, she was also a single mother.
Burchard had a history of helping others and engaging with young, attractive girls he met online, like Kelsey. That's according to his friend, who did not want to be identified.
In the late 2010s, Turner entered a financial agreement with Dr. Thomas Burchard, a 71-year-old child psychiatrist. Over several years, Burchard provided her with over $750,000, covering expenses like her car insurance and the rent for her Las Vegas home. According to Judy Earp, Burchard's fiancée, many people asked for the doctor's help, but Kelsey was different. Judy claimed that Kelsey had often requested money under the guise of needing it for her son's medication or other emergencies.
Judy Earp, his girlfriend of 17 years, was back at their home in California and sensed the doctor was in trouble.
By early 2019, Judy, who suspected that Burchard was experiencing the early stages of dementia, urged him to end the relationship. Burchard agreed and planned to confront Turner on March 1, 2019, to tell her he would no longer provide financial support. He never returned from that trip.
Maybe I ought to just come home on the next flight.
Judy Earp reported Burchard missing, prompting an investigation. On March 7th, police discovered Burchard's abandoned Mercedes-Benz in the Las Vegas desert. Inside, they found blood, gloves, and a baseball bat. The trunk contained a body wrapped in bedsheets, identified as Dr. Burchard through a credit card found at the scene. During the autopsy, the medical examiner concluded that Burchard had died from blunt force trauma, ruling his death a homicide.
Repeatedly that these are not, the kind of people you want to be associating with.
Detectives interviewed Judy, who shared details about Burchard's plans to cut ties with Kelsey. When they searched Kelsey's home, they found evidence of blood and an attempt to clean up the scene. Using cell phone data, authorities tracked Kelsey and her roommates, Diana Pina and John Kennison, to the Rio Hotel. By the time officers arrived, the three were gone.
Were living and where investigators believe Dr. Burchard was murdered. Kelsey's roommate, Diana Pena, told a grand jury that Kennison attacked Dr. Burchard with a baseball bat.
The investigation took a key turn when Burchard's journal was found, containing entries about accusations Kelsey made against him involving inappropriate images of children. Despite these allegations, no evidence of such material was found on Burchard's electronic devices. Judy stated that the accusations had deeply troubled Burchard due to his professional background.
Kelsey's roommate, Diana Pena, pleaded guilty to accessory to murder and is expected to testify at their trials.
Kelsey, Diana, and John were eventually located. Fingerprints from Burchard's car matched those of Diana and John. Diana admitted to police that Kelsey had been upset when she learned Burchard planned to cut her off financially. She said Kelsey had ordered John to confront Burchard, which led to John fatally hitting him with a baseball bat. John then drove Burchard's car with the body in the trunk and abandoned it in the desert.
It looks like she received an own recognizance release, so she's getting some pretty preferential treatment here, and it's going to be interesting to see if the jury thinks, in fact, she could be the bad person in this.
Diana Pena agreed to a plea deal for being an accessory to murder and was sentenced to 3 years of probation. John Kennison pled guilty to murder and received an 18 to 45-year prison sentence in 2022. Kelsey Turner took an Alford plea, acknowledging the strength of the evidence against her without admitting guilt. She was sentenced to 10 to 25 years in prison and will be eligible for parole when she is 36 years old in 2029. During her court proceedings, Kelsey Turner's behavior drew attention, as she was often seen smiling and posing for the cameras, which many found surprising given the serious charges she faced.
3.75 years that she has already spent incarcerated and still shows no sign of rehabilitation.
While some interpreted her actions as an attempt to appear confident or maintain composure, others saw them as evidence of indifference to the crime and its consequences. Currently, Kelsey Turner is serving her sentence at the Florence McClure Women's Correctional Center in Nevada. If you thought Kelsey Turner's case was shocking, prepare yourself for an even more unsettling story. Samantha Wohlford's actions blurred the line between betrayal and violence in ways that few could have predicted.
Everything he could to keep the family financially afloat. He was working 2 jobs. She was not working.
Ernest Ernie Ibarra Jr. and Samantha Wohlford began dating in 2008, quickly forming a bond that Ernie believed would last a lifetime. Samantha, who had given birth to twins at 19 with her high school boyfriend, seemed to be a perfect match for Ernie, and their relationship grew stronger as they added to their family. In 2011, they welcomed a second set of twins, followed by another child in 2013. By then, their household had grown to a total of 7, and Ernie worked tirelessly to provide for his wife and children, taking on 2 jobs, one at a bat manufacturing company during the day, and another at Little Caesars in the evenings.
Hey YouTubers! Today a lot of shit pissed me off, so you guys get to listen to it.
His dad's not having a whole lot to do with this pregnancy, and that sucks.
As Ernie balanced work and family life, Samantha turned to social media to help make ends meet. She started a YouTube channel, sharing stories about her life, her parenting experiences, and her aspirations. Through her channel, Samantha spoke candidly about the challenges of being a young mother of 5 and showcased her interests and personality.
It was her only focus, and her family was really left to the wayside.
What do you think of me making YouTube videos? Well,
While Samantha's content began to build her online following, Ernie's family noticed that she was changing. Ernie's sister, Abigail, began to fear that Samantha's focus on her channel was taking a toll on her family responsibilities. Abigail observed that Samantha was spending more time creating content and seeking online attention, and less time caring for her children. This shift in priorities caused friction between Samantha and Ernie, who preferred to keep a low profile and avoid the attention that Samantha craved.
Oh yeah, I forgot about him.
Because you got that fucking iPad in your hand.
Where?
At least you're paying attention. But only because of this fucking hilarious ass episode.
Their relationship was further strained by issues of trust and jealousy. Ernie's passion for gaming became a point of contention when Samantha discovered that Ernie's online avatar had married a female character. This incident angered Samantha, who felt that Ernie had not yet given her the commitment of an engagement ring, despite their 5 children and years of partnership. Despite these challenges, Ernie proposed to Samantha in 2014, and the couple tried to move forward.
The silence that provides a new clue.
Did you hear him say anything else besides what you told us?
They said that it was because of his dad.
Because of his dad?
Yeah.
Okay.
However, on February 20th, 2015, everything changed. Samantha called her mother, Rosie, in a panic, claiming that intruders had broken into their home, taken Ernie, and bound her. Rosie, deeply concerned, called her sister, Ginger, who rushed to Samantha and Ernie's house. Ginger found Samantha tied up and restrained, and the scene was unsettling, with signs of forced entry and a damaged front door indicating a struggle.
It had just happened to be my mom.
I think you know exactly who did this. I think the story's made up about your daddy, his daddy, and stuff like that.
Emergency responders treated Samantha at the scene before she was taken to the Titus County Sheriff Department for questioning. Samantha told detectives that she and Ernie were asleep when the break-in occurred shortly after 1 a.m. She claimed that the intruders barged into their bedroom, one holding a knife to her throat while another dragged Ernie away. Samantha said that during this chaotic moment, she was brought downstairs and the men taunted her by striking Ernie in the face with a gun. After the intruders left, Samantha managed to free herself and call her mother for help.
Okay, see, I knew. You know, Sam, you know I'm not here lying to you. You know I know.
The only other thing I know, I don't even know I know.
Okay.
Detectives pressed Samantha for descriptions of the intruders, but she said they were all wearing black clothing and masks, preventing her from identifying them. Samantha did acknowledge that she and Ernie had a difficult past, including an arrest in 2014 for alleged domestic violence, but she insisted that things had been improving between them since then.
There's more happening here and that they need to dive deeper.
What did you say when he said he's going to take care of that problem?
I just laughed at him. I thought he was joking.
As the investigation unfolded, Samantha brought up a potential secret. Jonathan Kyle Sanford, known as Johnny Red. She claimed that she had shared details of Ernie's alleged harm with Johnny, who might have taken it as a reason to intervene. Sanford, a former inmate with a history of criminal activity, was brought in for questioning. He admitted to being involved in the plot to harm Ernie, revealing that he had recruited 2 accomplices, Octavius Lamar Rhymes and Jose Antonio Ponce, to carry out the plan.
She had previously described that there were 3 of them, so I think law enforcement believed that there was at least one more person involved.
Police also apprehend Octavius Lamar Rhymes.
Sanford confessed that he, Rhymes, and Ponce had ambushed Ernie and taken him to a secluded area in Camp County, Texas. There, they shot Ernie in the head, leaving his body in a remote spot. Investigators discovered evidence of communication between Samantha and Rhymes, including text messages outlining the plot to eliminate Ernie. Samantha, Sanford, Rhymes, and Ponce were all arrested and charged with aggravated kidnapping and murder.
Oh, you know, Sam, you know I'm not here lying to you. You know I know.
The only other thing I know, and I don't even know if I know,
okay,
but it's a suspicion.
Okay.
In April 2016, Sanford and Ponce accepted plea deals and were each sentenced to 50 years in prison. Rhymes' trial began in December 2016, and he was found guilty on all charges, receiving a 93-year sentence. Samantha's trial started in September 2017, where the evidence and testimonies revealed the extent of her involvement. She was found guilty and received a 99-year sentence for murder, to be served consecutively with her 50-year sentence for kidnapping.
Money was a constant struggle. You know, her husband was working several part-time jobs.
I've had a lot of people stop me and ask about how I deal with things. Honestly, it's hard.
Although the public reaction to Samantha Wohlford's sentence was one of relief, it was ultimately a tragedy for everyone involved. Her 5 children are now left without both a mother and a father. They now face an uncertain future. Samantha Wohlford's calculated betrayal and manipulation led to a devastating crime. But the next case takes us to an even more shocking act of violence. Isabella Guzman, a young woman whose brutal actions against her own mother revealed a deeply fractured relationship. In 2013, in the quiet suburban community of Aurora, Colorado, 18-year-old Isabella Guzman, a seemingly ordinary teenager, murdered her mother, Yunmi Hoy, in a horrific act of violence that left even seasoned investigators stunned. Yunmi Hoy, a 47-year-old mother, was stabbed more than 70 times in an attack so frenzied it left 79 wounds across her neck, face, and torso. The crime wasn't just tragic, it was deeply unsettling.
And that her mom was concerned enough that she called police on August 28th. They came to the house and told Isabella that her mom could kick her out for her behavior. It seemed to calm her down.
The night of the murder began with simmering tension in the family home. According to accounts, Yunmi and Isabella had been arguing for weeks, their relationship strained to the breaking point. That evening, Isabella's stepfather was home when he heard the commotion upstairs. When he rushed to investigate, he found a horrifying scene. Isabella standing over Yunmi's lifeless body, the floor covered in blood. In a state of shock, her stepfather could do little as Isabella fled the house.
Guzman's stepdad heard a thump, ran upstairs, and saw blood oozing out from under the bathroom door. Court documents indicate that he later saw Guzman exit the bathroom with a knife in her hand.
Law enforcement quickly arrived on the scene, but Yunmi Hoy was beyond saving. Officers and paramedics described the scene as one of the most gruesome they had ever encountered. A manhunt for Isabella began immediately. She was found the next day and taken into custody, charged with her mother's murder. As the details of the case unfolded, the story took an even darker and more complex turn. In the months leading up to the murder, Isabella had been battling severe mental health issues. During her trial, court-appointed doctors revealed that Isabella had been diagnosed with schizophrenia, a condition that had warped her perception of reality for years. At the time of the attack, Isabella believed her mother was not Yunmi, but a figure from her delusions named Cecilia. In her mind, she was on a mission to kill Cecilia to save the world from some imagined catastrophe. The defense presented a chilling piece of evidence to support Isabella's delusional state. A threatening letter Isabella had sent to her mother before the murder. It read, "You will pay," but was addressed to Cecilia. This bizarre detail painted a picture of a young woman trapped in a dangerous spiral of paranoia and confusion. Her erratic behavior during court hearings only deepened the unease. At times, she appeared detached, staring blankly into the cameras, her expression unnervingly calm for someone accused of such a heinous crime.
The 18-year-old smirked at the camera as she stood up and walked to the defense table this afternoon, her arms and legs shackled. After the judge read the complaint against her, she looked over.
Both prosecutors and the defense agreed on one thing. Isabella was incapable of distinguishing right from wrong at the time of the murder. The court accepted her plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. Instead of prison, Isabella was committed to a state psychiatric hospital, where she would remain until deemed no longer a danger to herself or the public, a period that could span years or even her entire lifetime.
I was abused at home by my family for many years. My parents are Jehovah's Witnesses, and I left the religion when I was 14.
For Isabella, the years that followed became a journey of reckoning and recovery. 7 years after her sentencing, she broke her silence in an interview with CBS News' Rick Salinger. Speaking with a calm demeanor, Isabella expressed her desire to rejoin society. She admitted that she had not been herself the night of the murder and credited medication and therapy with helping her regain her sense of reality.
He asked me if I wanted to go in there and look through to get some clothing, so I did. The other patient left, and he went in there and shut the door behind him.
In the interview, she also shared a more personal side of her story. Isabella claimed her struggles began long before the crime, pointing to years of emotional turmoil and harm within her family. She described feeling increasingly isolated after choosing to step away from the Jehovah's Witness faith as a teenager, a decision that created a rift with her family. According to Isabella, the lack of understanding and support at home only deepened her mental health struggles, leaving her vulnerable to the delusions that would ultimately drive her to violence. As of now, Isabella remains under the care of the state, her future uncertain. Fame's dark side is just the start. The next video reveals more jaw-dropping moments as shocking crimes lead to life-changing sentences. These cases will make you question the true price of their actions. Don't miss what unfolds next. Click the video on screen.